Most people think running a webinar, workshop, or talk is all about what happens on the actual day. Well, it's not the case. The truth is, it's all about what you do before and after that can be the most important part of what you're actually going to be saying during the actual event. So, this week, I'm actually going to be kicking off another series. So, last series was all about number rules and everything like that. But this one's going to be taking you from an idea, the concept of wanting to share something out there with the world and presenting. So all the way running through an idea for an event that keeps people connected and coming back for more, all the way through to that. So today's video is basically a bigger picture overview so you know exactly what to focus on and in what order to turn your event into a momentum building machine. If you haven't met me before, my name is Nikki Kelly. I'm the founder of Wisdom and a brand new platform called SpeakerLink. And I am obsessed in helping people share their knowledge with the world. So jump right in and let's get into this video. So here's the problem, right? Too many people will treat an event as a one-off sort of like performance in a way, right? And they'll send out a few invites, they run their talk and then crickets. So there's a quietness afterwards. And sometimes, and admittedly, a lot of us do it, we just sort of forget to follow up because we're just moving on to the next project in a sense. But we need to continue that conversation. There's no follow-on opportunities. So the thing is, the event itself is just one point of a much bigger journey, I guess, that you're taking people on in that, like and love you, basically, is the journey, I guess, that they take with you. So if you want to set up a whole process well, you're not only going to be delivering a better experience for your audience, but you're actually building a relationship through trust and sales all beyond the event. So let's go through our 5-stage big picture. So like I mentioned, this is going to be a series, and this series here is all about the 5 stages to the bigger picture of actually running an event and presenting. So over the next few videos, I'm going to guide you through the 5 stages basically of running a high impact webinar or workshop online, right? It could be even a talk, face to face. But before the event is the first one, and that's where we talk about planning and setting up for success. And we're going to talk about that today. The second one will be creating the content. The third, delivering on the actual day. And then the fourth is post-event connection, and then just ongoing opportunity in the 5th one. So each stage does matter. It does matter in the respect of, when all of these stages work together, you'll actually stop thinking about the events as just a one-off thing, like, oh, I'm just going to turn up to the event or I'm just going to have a bit of content, whatever. No, you're going to think of it as a whole package, a whole process. So it's just all about making sure that you have the idea all the way through to the momentum of ongoing opportunities after the event. So we're going to start with a little mini lesson in this video, right? Let me give you a couple of quick tips right now so you can just start thinking like a high impact event leader. So the first one is always start with the end in mind. What do you want people to do after the event? That goal is what shapes every step before it, right? The next one is think about the connection points. Where can you actually connect before, during, and after your event? Every touch point is a chance just to build trust with your audience. And then the third one is, do you have a follow-up plan ready, right? Don't leave it until the last day or even the day of the event, maybe to just decide what happens next. So think of what that momentum is going to be. You do not want to lose that momentum. The success of your webinar, talk, or workshop isn't decided on the day you deliver it, right? It's decided long before you even open up that Zoom link or walk onto that stage. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to plan and set up your event so you can feel confident, organized, and just ready to create real impact. So like I said, this video is the first stage. This is where you make or break your event. Without a clear plan, your event can end up rushed, unclear, or just missing opportunities. How many times have we done talks and we're like, oh, I should have shared that link, or oh, I didn't tell people to do this, or whatever. Plan your event. Plan what it is that you're going to be doing. A well-planned event isn't just easier for you, but it's also more enjoyable and more valuable to your audience. which means better engagement and more chances just to keep the conversation going afterwards. So the 4 steps you need to do just to plan your event, really simple. Step 1, define your goal, obviously, right? Before you book a date or design a slide or get all excited about all that pretty stuff, what do I want my audience to do after this event? So keep remembering the goal that is in mind, right? Growing your community maybe. Is it selling a program or a product? Where am I going to take these people on? What journey am I going to take them on, or how am I going to connect it all? Just think about what's the end goal, and just remember the one decision of that goal will shape everything else forwarding onwards. So the next step is just choosing the right format. Now, sometimes, we might be trying to work out, is this going to be a workshop? Is it going to be a webinar, a live Q&A? It might be, just go with the flow sort of thing. But pick a particular format that best serves the goal, obviously, that you're trying to reach. So, for example, you might have a webinar, and that is great for teaching and generating leads, obviously. But you might also run a workshop, and that's something where you're teaching things, right? It's more interactive. It's perfect for smaller, engaged groups. Live Q&As, well, we know how they work. They're great for building personal connection, actually answering, questions from your potential users or current users or audience. So pick the format that best serves the goal that you're trying to achieve. So step 3 is map your pre-event touch points, right? So don't just send one invite and hope for the best, right? We know there's got to be a sequence here. So there'll be something like an initial invite. There'll be a reminder, possibly a few days out. And then a final, it's happening now kind of nudge email or message, social post, whatever it is out there. This will just keep your event top of mind. And then step 4 is, if you can, use AI just to save time. We're all using AI, I'm sure of it. So get AI to help you draft your invitation email. Get it to create your social media teasers, create FAQ responses if you need to, especially after a talk. You might get some Q&A questions afterwards, some time to do the facts. So this frees up your energy to actually focus on the delivery, which is the next step. So make sure that you really do utilize AI as much as you can. There is nothing wrong with it. You, in the end, are the one delivering it. You've got to recognize what it is that you're delivering. So you will practice and keep going and changing the words around and so forth as often as you can. But use AI to just help you with those initial admin sort of tasks at least. So we've shown you the 4 steps prior, the planning, setting things up. But there's one final step, and that is the follow through step. And this is all about organizing yourself to understand what's going to happen after your event. Where's the connection going to be? Where's the momentum going to happen, right? So this is the follow through stage. And so before the event starts, you need to decide on a few things. And the first one is, where do you want your attendees to go to next? What's the funnel that you're going to take them through? Is it a membership, a course, booking page? What is it going to be? And then how are you actually going to get them there? You're going to show a QR link, you're going to send them a follow-up email. So how are you actually going to get them to that next stage? And the other thing is, how are you going to keep them warm, right? So you've had this awesome experience, this awesome event. They love you. Your name is fresh in their mind. Keep that momentum going. They're falling in love with you. So how do you keep them warm? Well, offer things like bonus content, ongoing community invites if you want to bring them into a community, announce the next event that we'll be on and get them registering then and there. This just ensures that the event that you're running, going to, talking at, whatever it is, just becomes that launch pad, and it's just not an isolated moment. Now, if there's one thing that you're going to take away from this video, I want to make sure you take away this one thing. If you want your event to succeed, you must plan it. And you must plan it with an end goal and next steps for your audience in mind before you do anything else. Always remember, what is it that you're trying to achieve? What funnel are you taking that audience through? How are they going to get there? Where are they going to go? So always remember that. Just think of it. So one thing that you're going to take away, plan. Plan the end goal and the next steps for your audience in mind before you do anything else. Recap on stage 1, all about planning for your event. The first one is define your goal. Be crystal clear on what action you want your audience to take after the event. And 2, choose the right format. Pick the style that serves that goal best. And 3, map your pre-event touch points. Build that anticipation with multiple invites and social reminders, etc. And 4, use AI to save time. We all say, yes, AI can't build your script and so forth, and that's totally understandable. You need to understand your own message and your talk itself. But AI can help you in other areas as well, getting those emails out and so forth. So let AI handle the admin so you can just focus on your delivery. And the 5th one is plan for the follow through, or the flow through, we can also call it. So know in advance where you're planning to take your audience during and after the event. So just the momentum that you have never stops. So if you plan these 5 steps before you do anything else, your event won't just run smoothly. It'll actually create a clear path for your audience to follow and just keep them engaged long after your event ends. And in the next video, we're going to move to stage 2, and that's going to be about creating content that holds attention. And it's going to be where I'll show you how to design sessions where people can actually remember and recall what it is that you talked about. Have you ever been in a webinar or a workshop where the speaker just talks and talks, and then you kind of find yourself checking your phone halfway through, getting a little bit distracted? And the problem isn't the audience attention span. Usually it's the way the content is structured. And today I'm actually going to show you how to create content that holds attention, keeps people engaged, and makes your message stick. So in the last video, we looked at stage 1, and that's all about the planning for success before your event. And now we're going to be moving into stage 2. Now, we all know that, we've got to build up the content, but we've got to create the right content. Because no matter how good your plan is, if the content falls flat, you're just going to lose that impact that you've been working so hard for. So why does this stage matter? Well, your content is the experience in itself, right? If it's boring, if it's overloaded, or if it's confusing, people will just switch off. And when it's clear, interactive, and well-structured, your audience will stay with you. And that's what builds trust and momentum. So I'm going to share with you 4 quick key points just as a starter. The first one is, what is your one core message? Start with the one big idea. If your audience remembers one thing only, what should it be? And build everything around that. Structure is the next part. Structure with the flow, right? Think of it like a journey. Set the stage, deliver your teaching, and then wrap it up with the next clear step. And then the part that I think a lot of people tend to miss is that whole participation moment. Now, every 7 to 10 minutes, you should get your audience to do something. It's just that re-trigger, right? Ask a question, run a poll, get them to put their hand up, something like that, and just pause for reflection too at some points. And I mentioned in our last video, and I'm going to mention it again, use AI as your content partner, right? Not your creator. AI can help you with your outlines, it can help you with examples or even prompts. So you're not just starting from scratch every single time. Or you could have so much information that AI can actually organize it for you, refine it for you a little bit better as well. So in this video, the one big takeaway message I actually want you to take away is the secret to holding attention is clarity and interaction. Don't overload your audience. Give them one clear message and give them chances just to engage along the way. That is a really good way to get that information to stick. And those feelings will actually kick in as well. So when people feel something, they get a story, they remember it. So this part here is me diving in a little bit deeper about creating that content that will really hold attention. And the first part is a hook. Hook them in early. Now we know about the hook, but hooking people in early is really, really important. Open up with a story. Maybe it's a surprising stat or a provocative question, right? The question could be, let's say, for example, did you know most online audiences start to drift in under 7 minutes? And if you do ask that question, sometimes they're like, oh, I'm the audience. Let's see what happens. Let's take on that challenge. So that's one of the little things you can do. Hook them in early with something. The next one is layer your content like a story. Use a beginning, a middle, and an end arc. Our human brains have a tendency just to remember stories so much more than slides of information, right? And even your data should be wrapped up in a narrative, whether that's the problem, the solution, and the result. So another one is chunk information into threes. Present your ideas into groups of three. I've mentioned this before, right? The rule of three is proven in communication research. And an example is, there are 3 ways to keep people engaged. So another one is planting curiosity gaps. This is where you drop hints of what's going to come later. And an example of that would be, and there's one technique I use that always brings people back after a break. And I'm going to share that in a minute. There's those sort of little hints, I guess you can call it, that, there's more to come and people will stick around. So this one here is timing your energy peaks. And what I mean by that is not necessarily your personal energy peaks, because, we have our peaks and troughs, I guess. But when it comes to the information you're teaching, you've got your audience attention at the start. But when you do hit that 10, 20-minute mark, that's actually when attention really starts to sort of fade a little bit. So that's a really good time where you can plan your highest energy teaching moment just to get them back into the listening mode. And an obvious one, we all know it as knowledge sharers and so forth, always end with the next step. Don't leave people hanging with, that's all, see you later. Wrap it up with a clear action. Give some sort of reflection. It could be a challenge. Direct them to a download or even the next event, but just give them something else to do. What's the next step? Where can they learn more from you? They're falling in love with you. They want to know, where can they get more? So here's a recap. One big message, not 20 of them. And a simple structure with flow. Participation moments to keep energy high, and use AI to support your ideas. And remember, the one takeaway from this particular video is clarity and interaction. That is what keeps people listening. If you focus on that, your content will land every single time. So in the next video, we're actually going to move to stage 3, and that's all about confident delivery on the day, where I'll share tips to help you show up with presence and lead the room, whether it's on Zoom or on stage. So here's the truth. Most audiences don't leave an event saying, wow, those slides were amazing. They remember you. They remember how you made them feel, whether you held their attention, and if they left with energy. And in this video, I'm going to share exactly how to deliver with confidence and presence, just so your message sticks and how your audience actually remembers you. So in stage 2, we talked about creating content that holds attention. But great content isn't necessarily enough, right? Your delivery needs to make sure that it's sent across, the message comes across. So in stage 3 is where your preparation, everything that you've done, comes alive. And it's all about how you show up, how you connect, and how you lead in the moment. Research shows people make a judgment about your credibility within the first 7 seconds. 7 seconds, right? And most of what they recall about a speaker isn't actually in the detail. It's the energy, it's the confidence, and the clarity of the delivery. And that's why this stage can completely change the impact of your event. So here's 5 little practical delivery keys here that you can take away from this video. And the first one is own the first 2 minutes. Start strong. Your tone, your pace, and your body language at the beginning will set the frame for the entire session. And a tip is memorize your opening story or question, just so you have that confidence, because that will really anchor you. So the second one is something that I struggle with, and that is controlling pace and really structuring your pauses, right? Nerves can make us rush. So instead, use deliberate pauses just to create that impact. And silence feels huge for you, but it is actually quite powerful for your audience. Now, one thing I think is amazing for a lot of people to do is command the room with eye contact. In person, scan the room, hold a few people's eyes for at least 3 to 5 seconds. It will feel like a long time, but trust me, it will help. And look, if you are online, speak into the camera lens, not your slides, so each person feels like you're actually speaking to them. And the fourth one is lead with your body. Stand tall or sit upright. Shoulders should be back, and use a powerful hand gesture here and there just to really emphasize those points. Movement communicates confidence, right? But keep in mind, you need to make sure that those movements are intentional, not fidgety movements. Now, if you can, A really good tip here is just engage with your audience directly. Mention people by name, invite those questions or ask those polls like I mentioned in the last video. But every touch of interaction really pulls the audience back into the moment. And it just shows that you're leading, you're not just talking. Now to dive in a little bit deeper here, I wanted to share a couple of other little techniques that you could use. And one of them is vocal variety, like shifting your pitch and your volume just to add emotion and emphasis is one big one. Energy peaks. Plan your bursts of energy. And like I mentioned in our last video, around the 10 to 20 minute mark, that is really when the attention will dip. Reframe your mistakes. If you stumble, don't apologize endlessly. Oh my God, I just did it then. Smile, reset, and keep going. Authentically builds trust. So the next one is reframe mistakes. And the reason I'm laughing is because I just made one and I had to retake. If you stumble, don't apologize endlessly. Just smile, reset, and keep going. Authenticity really does build trust. Anchor your stories. Based on a Stanford study, stories are remembered 22 times more than data. So drop them throughout just to bring the points alive. And the next technique you can use, and we all have it, we have a mobile on us, right? This is where you could have your little run sheet. That could be your safety net. Just simple checklist on your desk, on the side, on your phone, whatever it is, will just help you keep track. And it just keeps you calm as well. Now, what's the one big takeaway I really want to make sure you take away from this particular video is your audience doesn't need you to be perfect, right? You need to be you to be present. So presence is what makes delivery confident, memorable, and powerful. So please, like I said, your audience doesn't need you to be perfect. Please make sure if this is the one message you're going to take away, that's it. So here is how you deliver with confidence. Own the first 2 minutes. Control your pace and pauses. Command the room with eye contact and lead with your body and engage your audience directly. Plus, use vocal variety, anchor with stories, and plan your energy peaks. But above all, remember our one big takeaway, confidence isn't about perfection, it's about presence. So in the next video, we're going to move to stage 4, and that's the post-event connection, where you'll learn how to keep the conversation alive after your talk. And that's where the real opportunities begin. It's why you're doing the talks in the first place. You're trying to introduce yourself. You're trying to share a message, get people to trust you. Where's it all going to go? Common thing that happens. Most speakers tend to make the same mistake where they put all their effort into the event itself and then they go quiet. But here's the truth. The real value isn't in what happens necessarily during the event. It's actually what you do with it afterwards. Now, today I'll show you how to keep the conversation alive, build deeper connections, and just turn one talk into ongoing opportunities. So in the previous video, stage 3, we focused on confident delivery. And that was, how to show up, with presence and, lead in that moment. But this stage here, stage 4, is where we're moving beyond the actual event itself. Because if you're stopping that engagement momentum, it's literally just, you're losing everything that you've worked for. So let's dive into how to continue that momentum. Research shows that most attendees forget of what they heard within a week if there's no follow-up. So post-event connection is what cements your message. It also builds trust, but it also opens the doors for the next steps. This is why you do it, right? So whether it's a new client, it could be a course enrollment, or even just a stronger community you're trying to build, make sure you do apply this next stage. So we all know, right? After we do a talk, we try to capture leads or send out something afterwards and do a little recap. And that's fantastic, right? So the first thing you should do, obviously, is say thank you quickly. Send a thank you message within 24 hours. Include a replay link, your slides, or even just some key points from your talk. But gratitude does build goodwill and it just shows professionalism. Now, if you've made a promise, don't make people hunt for links, especially when it comes to resources. Have your resources, your socials, and offers ready in one place. And this is where the tool like SpeakerLink shines. Your audience will get a link and they get everything they need instantly. Now, jumping off that little promo, segment your audience by engagement. not everyone who attends is at the same stage. So some are curious, others will be ready to act. So create different follow-up paths as well for them. Like you might have those warm leads, so invite them to a call or possibly the next event. Or if it's a cold lead, share some free resources and just nurture content that you can provide to them in a sequence of emails, whatever it is. Now, an obvious one is keep the conversation going. Ask for one follow-up question in your email or community group. It could be inviting for feedback or ask what they'd like to see next. It just shows that you really do value their input and you're trying to do more for them. Now, based on the previous of, keeping the conversation going, offer a clear next step. And this could be for those people who don't necessarily want to go into that whole conversation side, but it could be more of an action side. So with every event that you run, there should be a door that follows from it. And that might be joining a membership. It could be booking a one-on-one call. It could be just signing up to your next workshop, but don't leave it vague. Give them a clear direction. What is the next step they should take with you? Now, some of the really big takeaways you can have from actually running a talk is repurposing the content. Turn those highlights into social posts or short clips. A lot of us do that. But I've heard so many times that we get up on stage and there isn't someone else there recording for you or taking photos. Make sure you've got someone there so you can repurpose that content. Now, another thing is, and I touched on this previously in another video, is really connecting with your audience. And another way of doing that post-event is celebrating the attendees. Like share success stories or even shout outs to those who came along and asked questions. Obviously, keep the momentum going with an announcement of a next event or something else that's happening. Give them something else to look forward to before that momentum fades. And if you can, and I've mentioned it before, AI, automate smartly if you can. Use that email sequence if you can, or a chat function, whatever it is, just so you don't miss out on that follow-up function window. Now, the one big takeaway from this video is the event doesn't end when you stop talking, right? It ends when your audience takes their next step. So your job is to guide them to what the next step is. So here's your post-event checklist. Thank attendees quickly, at least within the next 24 hours, and share those resources instantly. With SpeakerLink, QR code, they scan it then and there, they enter their name and their email address, and they've got access to everything. You could get that within 5 minutes, right, of your conversation or before it ends. And the next one is segment by engagement. So if you've got an audience, some of them are warm, some of them are cool, well, post-event, think about what you're going to ask them to do. Some people might want to go one direction, and some people might want to go in another. So give them options and keep that conversation going. Ask for feedback. Some people actually tend to miss that. And that feedback part is really, really essential. Just shows that you're there for them. And what is the clear next step? Give them direction. Let them know where they can find you next, how they can engage with you next. And always remember, your event is the actual bridge. It's not the end of anything. It's actually the bridge that takes them to the next stage. So the next video is actually going to be the final video of this series, and that's when we move to stage 5, and that's ongoing opportunities. And this is where I'll show you how to turn one event into actually a pipeline of content, offers, and connections with your audience. Here's a little bit of a fact. LinkedIn research actually shows that only 2% of your attendees will actually take immediate action without guided follow-up. 2%. What's happening to the 98%? So this video, like I mentioned, is that follow-on. And it's so important because when you have post-event systems in place, conversion rates can really increase by up to 5 times. So let's dive in. So over this series of how to present, be a speaker, and just run talks or events, we went through 4 stages and we're doing the 5th one today. And they've been planning for success, creating content that holds attention and delivering with confidence and connecting after the event. And in this video today, it's all about stage 5. It's all about the ongoing opportunities. This is where you turn that one event into many. It's just really building that momentum over time. Now, this is similar to the last video, but it has a bit more in depth when it comes to the actual ongoing opportunities. And the 4 steps, they're just 4 simple steps, right? And the first one is repurposing that content. I mentioned that a little bit earlier in our last video. And one of the big things is when you do go to an event, make sure you have someone there with you who could take photos or video you, or if you need to, put your video, your mobile on a stand or something like that to the side of the stage just to capture some portion of you in movement and in static mode. So you've got something else to share out there. But don't let your talk gather dust, right? Turn it into short clips. It could be blog posts or even just micro lessons inside your community. But a 30-minute session should just fuel your content for at least weeks. So the second part is building that nurture path. Now, in a previous video, we did talk about structuring and making sure you thought about what was going to happen post-event. And this is all about creating that intentional flow, right? Invite attendees into your free hub, your membership or your program. What is the intention? We've talked about what action should they take. Don't assume they're going to find their way to it. You need to guide them. So there might be some steps that you've got to nurture them through to get them to that end point. Plan that out. Now, in our last video, I talked about feedback, keeping the conversation going. Well, this part is turning attendees into advocates. So highlighting their feedback, share their success stories, tag them on socials. When people feel like they're seen, when you were the person up on the stage, they just feel more likely to spread the word about you because they're like, wow, they weren't there just for them. They were actually there for us. And the final thing is make sure you're available for people. And what I mean by that is keeping the door open, right? Have a clear way for people to connect with you at any time. And this is why having a tool like Speaker Link does actually matter. The reason is because instead of links scattered all over the place, you go to a talk, you're presenting at a talk, let's say, and you're saying, here's my LinkedIn or whatever, or they hear your name and they go to LinkedIn. The next day they're looking at it and they're like, why was I looking at that person again? Or what were they talking about? Well, Speaker Link, if you give them your link, they go to your talk. They are remembering who you are as well as what you talked about, as well as accessing whatever resources or next step phases that you're giving them all on the one page. So just make sure that because instead of having links scattered everywhere and emails going out and so forth, yes, you still have to send those emails, but at least you've got that one location. People don't want to have to try and find you all over the place or whatever you've promised all over the place. If you've got it in one single location for them and it reminds them specifically of that talk, they're always going to find you. So the one big takeaway out of this very short video, but essential, is a speaking event isn't the end, right? It is actually the beginning of all the new opportunities that you can make for yourselves. If you have a system to capture and continue the momentum, it's not going to be the end. It's going to be the beginning of new opportunities. So a recap on how you create those ongoing opportunities, repurpose your content, build a nurture path, and turn attendees into advocates. That's a really big one there. And keep the door open with tools like Speaker Link. Let people find you. And remember, if you don't extend that life of your event, you potentially could lose 80% of the value, everything that you've put into this event within just a week. So this wraps up our series on presenting, running talks and so forth, from idea to impact. And now that you've got the full roadmap from planning to content to delivery to follow-up and the final ongoing opportunities, I'd love for you to have a think about what you will do at your next talk. But here's the truth. Most people never action this because the follow-up feels overwhelming. That whole follow-up and what happens next, thinking about what goes on. They're just going on to the next talk. They're not utilizing all of those people that were in front of them. And I understand because that follow-up, like I said, can feel overwhelming. But that's why I built Speaker Link. It removes that chaos by just giving your audience one place to access your links, offers, and resources just instantly. Keep the conversation alive without that extra effort for you. So I really invite you just to take a look at the link below in the description and grab the lifetime plan. It's there for you for a short period of time. It is disappearing, I think, before the end of the year. So make sure you take a look at it and don't let your next event be a one-off performance. Turn it into the start of something that is bigger. Don't forget. Have a look at Speaker Link. See you in the next video.